My name is Daryl Carl. Thanks for joining us once again. In our first story tonight, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is insisting that plans to remove and reduce some taxes or some tax rates will indeed come on this year. There are fears that with rising public debts and new areas being discovered, government might be forced to review this policy stance. But at an engagement with some journalists in Accra, Ken Ofori-Atta said the review will happen. And we'll bring you more on that story later. But the amount of money spent by the previous administration is now said to be far higher than earlier expected. Joy Business understands that public debt and the fiscal deficit have all gone up substantially. The following Business Desk report has more. Joy Business understands the latest figures could result in an end-of-year fiscal deficit of around 11% instead of the 8% being put out. This could mean that government spends more than earlier estimated. Whilst the country's total debt stock in relation to its value has reached 74%, translating into 124 billion cedis for end of year. Sources say the debt numbers have hit this new level as some ministries spend more than what had been approved in the budget. This could increase the over 10 billion cedis set aside as interest payments for last year. According to the 2016 budget, government was supposed to raise 37 billion cedis and spent about 43 billion cedis. For some analysts, if the extra spending was not directed in areas that can pay for itself, then government might have to look for extra funds to clear these debts. This could affect the administration's ability to carry out some tax cuts as promised, or for some, it's an indication that the current challenges facing the economy are far from over unless the rising debt is contained. Meanwhile, renowned economist Ishmael Yamson is questioning the credibility of the figures churned out by the previous administration. He was sharing his thoughts in an interview with Joy Business.
I have always believed that the figures that were being churned around were completely, they lack credibility. Just last November, we were all being told that the fiscal is on course. But we knew that given the accumulation of debt, it couldn't have been. You see, we have twin deficits. We have the budget deficits and you have the current account deficits. But even the budget deficit, you must always understand that there is always arrears, because the finance minister kept talking about on cash basis. On cash basis means that the debt is recognized only when it is due for payment. Yeah. So how much of arrears do we have today? We don't know. So for me, it's a huge issue that this government needs to get grips at very quickly. They need to understand what the arrears are pretty fast before they get surprised. Big surprise.
But how do we get around it, sir? Because someone's saying that the problems that we are going through right now is basically as a result of the overruns in 2012. So how do we deal with this budget deficit in 2012 that we also recorded, a very huge one? If we are also going to get to that bracket again, what should be the approach of this new administration?
I think the current administration, first of all, there has been huge amounts of reckless spending, unbudgeted, unprovided for, unplanned expenditures. I mean, in the last 18 months, virtually every project was activated. We should put a stop to that. We should put a simple stop to it and take account of all these projects and prioritize. You cannot just stop them, but you have to prioritize. Do those things that you have enough money to manage. I'm very surprised when we are going through a period of consolidation, is the period that we borrowed most. Can you understand? The fund tells us, the government tells us we are going through a period of consolidation, fiscal consolidation, and yet it's the period that we borrow just every time, everywhere, and not cheap, expensive borrowing.
In a related development, the Finance Ministry has indicated it should get the true state of the country's finances before the 2017 budget presentation next month. This follows fresh discoveries of money spent by the previous administration that cannot be accounted for. The latest is some 7 billion cedis discovered after forensic audit of the expense for 2016. In a statement from the ministry, government said it was committed to restoring credibility to the country's finances and obtain value for money spent. Let's then focus to other stories. Tonight, the Fisheries Commission has extended its annual closing season from 1 month to 2 months. The closure, which took effect from the beginning of February, will see all 85 of Ghana's fishing trawlers banned from embarking on deep-water fish expeditions. According to the Commission, defaulters would be severely dealt with as government tries to replenish the dwindling base of the country's fish stock. Charles Aite has more in this report.
Ghana's fisheries sector remains one of the leading contributors to GDP, having recorded a 10% growth in 2016. Unfortunately, the sector is threatened with the incidence of climate change across the world. Currently, the Fisheries Commission is implementing a 2-month ban on fishing activities by all trawlers. This directive has been seen by key industry players as disturbing as they complain of an acute shortage of fish and subsequent hikes in the price of fish stock. Head of Monitoring, Control and Surveillance at the Fisheries Commission, Godfred Brady Chipu, tells Joy Business this directive does not apply to canoe fishermen and assures there is enough fish stock ahead of the season.
Businesses have had the opportunity to, those who want to import fish, to make up for any perceived, shortfalls, should have done that by now. And they just stopped fishing 2 days ago. And the fish that they came with have been landed. So I don't think immediately there will be any sign of fish not being available on the market. Yeah, so looking at the fact that this has been planned, it has been announced ahead of time, we know that businesses have taken the necessary steps to ensure that there is fish on the market. And as I'm saying, the fishing that they were doing in January, they have landed, and some of them may be even landing now because they have come back from fishing, and that fish will be available to the market. And Ghana does not only depend on fish from the sea. There is normally importation, and also we have aquaculture. We also have fish coming from the Volta Lake. So the 2 months, we do not think it will create any, bring about any shortages on the market.
So how will the 2-month closing season be enforced by the Commission? Captain General Emmanuel Kwafo is the National Coordinator of the Fisheries Enforcement Unit.
For February and March this year, it's being repeated. And we're going to implement the measures that we took in November last year. November last year, what we did was to monitor. We have electronic monitoring of all the trawlers. And we're making sure that the trawlers are monitored electronically 24/7. And after that, those with foreign licenses, we monitor them electronically and put fisheries observers on board. We also conduct patrols on board the Ghana Navy vessels, and we've intensified our patrols. The issue is that apart from these our own vessels that are not to fish, there will be other vessels, international vessels, which are called IUU vessels, which have not been authorized at all to fish, and they would like to take advantage of the closure to come fishing. So we've intensified our patrols on board the Ghana Navy vessels, to make sure that nobody comes out there to trawl.
The 2-month closing season, which is expected to be implemented annually till 2019, will increase fish imports and stimulate the aquaculture sector. For Joy Business, Charles Aite reporting.
All right, we want to take you back to our top story tonight. Finance Minister Kenneth Boyata insisting that plans to remove and reduce some taxes will indeed come on this year. And as we've been telling you, there are fears of the rise in public debts and new areas being discovered government might be forced to review this policy stance. But Ken Ofori-Atta thinks otherwise, and he's been speaking to journalists in Accra.
Some of the taxes the MPP administration had promised to review includes the 17.5% tax on financial services, import duties and levies, as well as the removal of taxes on some petroleum products and the reduction in corporate taxes. However, looking at the fact that this could cost the country about 2 billion Ghana cedis, analysts say the new administration might take a second look at this plan. Speaking at a meeting with some selected journalists on developments in the economy, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta maintained that the tax cut will come on and will be announced the 2017 budget.
First, that we'll do that, and we think quite a number of them are, as we call, nuisance taxes. So we certainly would do that. I mean, I can't really tell you. I mean, it's a mix of things, from levies to exemptions to capital gains tax, and we're going to calculate and see which ones will be most effective. But certainly in the budget we'll lay out, you will see some tax eliminations and reductions.
He also downplayed fears that the new areas being discovered will slow down the presentation of the 2017 budget.
And how are we going to finance it? We're expecting that with the rigorous discipline in terms of expenditure and revenue mobilization. But maybe one thing that I need to stress is that if there's any legacy we want to leave at the Ministry of Finance, is that we have a global standard treasury management and risk department here, which then will be able to see all of the public purses flows to be able to curtail things that occur. And I suspect that's incredible amount of money that we'll be able to save. So we'll go in that same vein with that vigilance to ensure that we protect the public purse. I think that's key. And that will give us space to be able to do what we want to do.
Mr. Ofori-Atta indicated that the current discussions with the IMF is going well, and they are hopeful of reaching a smooth agreement at the end of their engagement.
We've got the IMF visit coming on, which we encouraged because we wanted to get on a good foot of understanding as to where we are, where they are, and where we want to go. But it's unequivocal that we are going to go through the program. We are committed to it to the very end. That we are hoping that by the end of the 15th, which is the period in which the engagement is about, right now technical meetings are going on, we should be able to have.
The Finance Minister concluded the meeting maintaining that it is committed to enhancing fiscal prudence and getting value for every money spent by government.
Well, in other news, the CEO of the Data Protection Commission, Teki Akwete-Falconer, is prevailing on the new government to carry out reforms in the public sector. The public sector, comprising ministries and government agencies, has over the years been criticized for low productivity, a lack of accountability, and high levels of corruption, among others. This, analysts believe, has significantly contributed to the country's economic woes. Mrs. Falconer says the sector therefore needs to be overhauled to effectively play a crucial role in the country's development.
It's sad, but you know, if you look at the systems that we have set up, especially in our public service, I've said time in and again that if we want to see a real change in this country, we have to reform the public services, the civil service and the public sector. Sure, people are working where they don't even have tools to work. You know, so my question is, why do you even have to put, you know, I've seen places where there are 3-4 people in an office with one computer sitting there. So when they come to work, what are they doing? Systems that we have put in there does not bring out accountability, and also you are not even giving the people the tools to work with. So if I'm supposed to bring draft letters and I go to the office and the resources to do that are not there, but I don't want to be idle, yes, I'll take the money that you're paying, which does not mean anything, and then do my own thing. And I think that is really something that must be looked at critically.
That was CEO of the Data Protection Commission, Teki Akwete Falconer, speaking there on Executive Lounge. That show airs tomorrow at 5 p.m. on this channel. Moving on, government has initiated plans to deploy technology in tackling illegal mining from the middle of this year. The Minerals Commission is planning to fix tracking devices on excavators and other earth-moving equipment in especially mining communities and surrounding areas. Kuku Aban reports.
Illegal mining is a big issue in Ghana. The initiative to deploy technology in tracking earth-moving equipment is expected to cost over $1 million, and it forms part of a broader strategy by government to completely address the menace. The Minerals Commission believes this is timely in a bid to find a lasting solution to the age-old problem. But how exactly? Chief Executive of the Commission, Dr. Tony Obing, explains.
It is the excavators who cause a problem, and they cause it in areas where nobody has granted them the right, in most cases, to mine. So if we have a technology which we have found that will stop machines from working in areas that they are not supposed to, then we can control it from outside. Because using human intervention, it has always been a challenge. The security forces cannot always be chasing 1.5 million people who are doing, let's say, small-scale mining, out of which a good number are doing so illegally. You won't have the security people doing all these things. So you need to get to a point where, sitting in my office, I can demobilize a machine.
But is that all there is to it? Well, the Minister-designate for Lands and Natural Resources, John Peter Amewu, believes full enforcement of the relevant laws is also crucial.
Mr. Chairman, regularization of illegal mining is a subject I am considering myself as part of the President's, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo's agenda. Regularization simply means we got to bring them to the formal sector and the right way of doing things. Currently, Mr. Chairman, the illegal miners just go doing haphazard digging. In my language, they say matrai makwe. You dig here to see whether you find gold, and tomorrow you go and dig another place. That cannot continue. At least government need to invest some minimum amount for the purpose of explorations and prospecting. And so that if these minerals deposits are identified, we can bring them collectively under one umbrella to mine. So His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is trying to see how we can migrate this process into a formal processes. So that is exactly what I would do as a minister designate if I become approved by this House.
So when you said you are not going to condone an illegality, is that position not different from regularizing an illegal activity now?
Not at all, Mr. Chairman. There is going to be an ongoing process to regularize the system. I have mentioned earlier on, Mr. Chairman, the recalcitrant one who face the law. There are 1,000 small-scale miners there up in this country, Mr. Chairman, that are doing the right thing. You visit their mine sites, and their mine site as more perfect than the large-scale miners. We should improve or encourage those small-scale to continue. And that's exactly what His President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is talking about.
The Minerals Commission last year succeeded in not only relocating some illegal miners from the Anglo-Gold Obuasi mine concession, but also registered and regularized their operations. So this could perhaps be adopted as a model for the country to effectively harness the economic potential of small-scale mining by way of employment and revenue generation.
All right, you're watching Business Live. Now, the week of trade on the stock market has wrapped up, and who to give us gist of what has been happening, Bertha Tubiga of Gold Coast Fund Management joins me on the line. Bertha, Has it been a good week so far? Perhaps we should start with the financial equities because I'm told that it has been going up and down over the past few weeks. Any good news to report?
Okay, thank you very much. And let me say this has been a very, very good one. So we had some equities losing, but for the financial sector, to be precise, like you asked, it's been doing very well. This week has been a very good week for the financial equities, especially for Standard Chartered Bank and then GCB. They've done very, very well this week.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so just to take you through what happened today on the market, we had quite a number of equities trading. 14. Yesterday we had 16, and today just 14 equities traded. And we had more gainers than losers. BOPP was one of the gainers. It had a price for to close at 234 pesos per share. GCB, formerly Ghana Commercial Bank, added 4 pesos to close at 418 pesos. Standard Chartered Bank, which was the top absolute gainer for today, and this week it has already recorded marginal gains. I already been surprised seeing Standard this week with the highest absolute gain for the whole of this week. On Monday, I wouldn't be surprised to see that. Previously, Standard was trading at 19 by close today at 16 Ghana cedis per share. And
all right. Thank you very much, Bertha Twiga, for bringing us up to speed on developments on the stock market. We project and see how things work out next week. But I want to take a look at the currencies and commodities as well for this week. Take a look. And this is where we take a short break. We'll be back with our interview of the day. Welcome back. Our interview of the day now. And oil production on the Jubilee field is expected to be halted for the next 15 days beginning today. Now, this is to allow for an interconnection between the Tweneboa and Ntumi fields and the Jubilee field for gas exportation from the FPSO at Mills. There are fears that this could affect some power delivery for domestic and commercial users. But in an interview with the head of policy at the Africa Center for Energy Policy, Dr. Ishmael Akat, he said so far government has given indications it will weather the storm. And we'll be bringing you more on this particular interview, as we have been saying, that the oil production on the Jubilee field is expected to be halted for the next 15 days. Now, there have been discussions as to whether or not this is going to affect power supply. We've been given indication that this is going to take 2 weeks, and we've got assurances from power generators that this is not going to affect power supply. And so we are going to bring you that interview in a moment, but you can also, just want to remind you, get up to date on all our stories on myjoyonline.com/business. We can roll that interview for you now.
Starting the year with about 3,840 megawatts. But generation has been a challenge. So the issue now is getting fuel to power some of our capacity. But the government has promised to do two main things we believe are very positive this year. The first one is to shift all government buildings, take all government buildings away from the grid. They want to install distributed solar solution for all ministries and government agencies. I think this is very positive because normally you hear that ECG says government owes them this amount and all that because government is not paying for their bills. When you put solar on these buildings, you are not going to generate any bill. So I think that is positive. Another thing in the MPP manifesto, which I believe should be done this year, is the technical audit of the power sector. I mean, we've signed a number of contracts, we've done a lot of deals in the sector, and we believe that we should, the technical audit.
And that's our show tonight. Thanks for watching. My name is erstwhile. Again, you can keep up to date on our website, myjoyonline.com/business.